to approve the meeting minutes of September 14, 2020. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Priscilla Manlito. Roll call, Joan?
Miss Manuelito,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. Thank you, board members. We approved the meeting minutes. Let's go down to item 4, approval of consent agenda items. Remember, consent agenda items 4A, number 1, fleet vehicles of September 23, 2020 has been pulled to be voted on under action items. With that, board members, what is the pleasure?
I have one question on the budget increase and decrease. The decrease of,
Mr. Long, we need a motion. Is that
you know,
a motion and then second and then discussion?
Okay, let's go do a motion in a second.
okay, I make a motion that the approval of the consent agenda items.
I'll second.
Okay, go ahead, Michael.
Okay, on the budget decrease of $5,494,363, is that due to that we projected revenue coming in is going to be that much less? Or?
Sure. President Long, Mr. Schaaf, as you recall, last spring, the legislative body, or actually late winter, legislative body approved a 4% increase for staff. We had to budget for that increase, and then during the special session, they reduced it to 1%. So a large chunk of this is due to the change from a 4% to a 1%. Understanding that very roughly about 1% is almost about $1 million in salaries for us. So that's part of it. The other part is also the CARES Act funding. These are dollars that we were provided by the federal government, and then the state is trying to take credit for those funds, or they are taking credit currently, to shore up their budget. So essentially dollars that we received as a school district to pay for COVID-related expenses during this remote learning time. The state took back 41% of those dollars to use to fill up their budget hole. And so part of that is that those dollars also being readjusted with the new unit value. And we expect further budget cuts in the future.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir, thank you, Chair. It doesn't pertain to the budget, but it does pertain to the budget. What are the changes in the budget that we've had since the COVID pandemic? It doesn't have to be given now, but I think later on I would like a report on that to see the difference in our budget since the pandemic and how it has affected our physical accounts. Thank you, sir.
Sure, we can do that at the next meeting. Just as a quick estimate, we've spent approximately $10 million extra on COVID-related expenses.
Okay. And Mr. Long, I also have a question on the website design contract that was bidded out. So with this new company, is it a new company? We haven't had it before?
Correct.
Okay, so will our website be changing again from what we have now?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
No other questions? If not, roll call, Joan, on the consent agenda items.
Miss Manuelito,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. Thank you, board members. We have approved the consent agenda items. Let's go down to study circle reports. Mike?
President Long, members of the board, we have several items today having to do with parents as educators, athletics, and also cultural education has a report also. As you recall, Ms. Manuelito also requested a McKinley Academy report, and we will be doing that next board meeting, and also a budget report of expenses related to COVID. So I'm going to ask that Dr. Ryan, that she come up. She is the Director in Curriculum Instruction, and she will give a presentation on Parents as Educators. This is a great program that we have in our district and is proving to be very helpful for our parents who have young children. And so I'm going to let her give you a little bit of overview and some of the things that we've been able to have this program do for our students and for our parents and our communities.
Okay.
It's pretty high tech.
See, we'll see if it'll stay.
That's
might
real
just have to
high
hold it.
tech, so.
All right, that's better. President Long, members of the board, Mr. Hyatt, we appreciate this opportunity to share information with you all about the Parents as Teachers program. You'll see it's called GMCS PAT. There's a lot of data in this presentation, and I want to highlight some major points, our successes, and where we are with this program right now in Gallup McKinley County Schools. So we have the capacity with the Parents as Teachers program to serve 120 families. Currently, as of yesterday, so your PowerPoint's outdated, we added a family yesterday, and so we are currently serving 98 families. Your PowerPoint says 97. So we added a family yesterday. And the Parent as Teacher program serves families, parents from prenatal through age 5. So we have pregnant women, families, young parents in our program, and we serve them through the age of 5. The majority of students that are participating in the Parents as Teachers program do matriculate into Gallup McKinley County Schools in preschool and pre-K and then kindergarten. We have some major goals, which I'll focus on here in just a second. But pregnant women and new fathers can participate in this program. And in fact, the students from the grads program can be supported with this Parents as Teachers program, Parent Educator program. Right now, we have 5 parent educators, and we are hiring for an open position. So we will be at 6 to get to our 120 families. Can you change that slide, please? Thank you. So the data that is showing right here is from last fiscal year. Obviously, we don't have this fiscal year data, but this is just breaking down some of the information on families. What I really want to highlight is that the purpose of this program, the purpose of the Parents as Teachers program, is for our parent educators to do home visits. And so last year there were a total of 447 visits, both virtually when the pandemic struck and when we were able to actually visit homes. So the parent educators do a minimum of 2 home visits a month with each family. And then there's also an optional group meeting that the parents and families can participate in, and that's time at the playground, parents just getting together to kind of relax and talk about things as they learn activities and help their children grow and learn and develop. Will you change the slide, please? Thank you. So this breakdown is really just the June, as of June 30. So again, last year's data. We don't have this year's data. But last year we had 23 teen mothers. We had 69 pregnant mothers, and we did have 28 fathers participating in the program. What I want to highlight on this slide for you all board members is that Gallup McKinley County Schools is actually the model for the state as far as our data goes. we are often highlighted by the state to go to the federal level, which is the McVie funding that funds this program, and the state shares our data and our model and what we do as a program to say, we need this money, and it's federal funding. So I just want to highlight to you all that our data really helps the state make sure that this funding is still continuing to come in. The last final things I want to highlight for you all are the 3 major goals. So they call it ONDA. I had to call Shannon this afternoon and find out exactly what that meant because I couldn't remember. But the CQI is the continuous quality improvement, and so those are the principles that guide this program. Again, it's federally funded through the state, so they kind of set these up. But there are 3 major goals. The first goal is that we ensure that families receive information, support, and through the visits, we make sure that they're learning early literacy, because one of the major focuses of this program is to make sure that we are screening our children. There's lots of different screenings that we make sure that we do. We bring in our specialists over at EDC to also facilitate when we need to do IEPs and make sure that our children are supported. And one of the ways we do that is through early literacy. One of the things that I love that's on here that the parent educators do is they encourage new moms, expecting moms, to read while the child is still in their belly. And we start literacy from then. And then we continue it on throughout their growth. The second goal is to really promote and provide support and information for breastfeeding. And so we give lots of tips and information. We have resources and tools for families and mothers. And then the last goal of this, of the CQIs, is that we are promoting safety and safe sleep. So as you all know, there were some challenges a few years ago as far as safe sleep went in our state. And so something that we do is you'll see that a lot of folks get safe sleepers so that we're not doing co-sleeping. We make sure that we're providing tools, references, resources to families and parents to make sure that they have the information that they need. So among all the other goals that we have, these are our 3 major goals. And then what I want to share with you on this last slide, I won't read it to you, but I want to read you a couple of comments. So at the end of every year, we do gather data from the parents and families that participated in this program, and they're able to provide feedback to us and let us know how we did, what we can do better. And so I want to read you a few. I can't see it up there, so I have to look here. A couple of the quotes. Witnessed my grandchildren learn so much. I cannot believe she is doing skills that she is doing in preschool and is still at home, not of age yet. This is an excellent program with parent educators who are encouraging and supportive. Parent educators are warm, caring home visitors. We love them. And so I just want to share that we do have one of our parent educators here with us today, Wandy Brown, as well as Shannon McFarland, who is the coordinator of the early childhood here. And so they do an amazing job, and I just want to see if you have any questions for us.
Before we open up for questions, if I could just make a comment. As we continually try to evaluate programs in the district, looking for effectiveness, and also, as you may know or may not, sometimes we get programs that are not fully funded, and so we have to look at those situations also. But this is a particular program that's been very effective, and it's also fully funded. And so those are the kind of programs that we continue to implement to help our students, staff at times, and also parents. So we'll open it up for questions.
Board members?
Yes, Mr. Long. Thank you for this report. I think this is a fabulous program. We've had family members that are nieces and nephews that have taken this program, and also through the BIE, the FACE program kind of mimics the same program. My question for you is, I would like to see a graph or chart of how many students are in each of our schools or our areas. I don't know if you can break that down for us. I just want to know if our rural areas are also being met. So that's my main focus on that, is to having to see where these parent as teachers are and the resources that they're being provided. So I really want to see if our rural areas are being taken care of. The second question I have is, you have virtual visits on here. How are you doing the virtual visits to our families that do not have technology or internet? How are you meeting their needs? My third question is, are you providing parents with training? I know that they do in the FACE program. I'm not too sure about the parents as educators. And my last question is, how are you meeting the needs of continuing to have a culturally relevant education also infused in this? I see you provide books. Are any of these books bilingual books that continue to emphasize either bilingual education or Navajo language and culture? And do you work with our Navajo language and culture or bilingual department in Gallup McKinley County? Thank you.
Okay, so to answer the first question, yes, we can definitely get you data as well as historical data in regard to how the rural communities are served and how we separate it. So we do maintain our data from 2013, right, Shannon and Barracuda? We have a lot of data, so we will definitely get you that data soon. 2011, even better. So we will get you that data. The second question, as far as the virtual visits, so to give you an idea of what we do now to make sure that we're providing all the support we can to all the families, particularly those that do not have access to the internet. We do provide resources. We have spent a tremendous amount of the funding that we received up front on making sure that we had supplies so that those supplies could be taken directly to the homes for those parents and families. And what the parent educators do is they deliver those supplies to the parents, the families, and then they either set up a virtual meeting or a phone call to go over the lesson that they would teach that normally would happen in a one-on-one modeling situation, but we're not allowed to do that right now. So we deliver those resources, we give them handouts, we give them lots of information, and then we set up a phone call or a virtual meeting, as well as follow-up to make sure that they have the support afterward so that the families can continue on. And I believe, I'm sorry, Ms. Manuelito, your third question was about, I lost it, I'm sorry.
The cultural revolution.
Oh, cultural, I'm sorry. I might turn to Shannon a little bit, but I do know that we make sure that all of our materials are culturally relevant as a district, and so I can't speak directly to it, but I believe that Shannon can.
Good afternoon. Yes, we do take into consideration the culture of the family, and Wandy can vouch for this. For like our safe sleep, it's working with the culture of the family, because some families don't choose to use the little cradles that we have. They use cradle boards. We do have books that reflect both Navajo and Spanish, and we also have parent educators that speak both Navajo and Spanish. And we have worked, one of our parent educators worked with a family that the children only speak Navajo. The parent educator only spoke English, so the mom and her worked in English, and they worked together with the kids. So, and it worked out fine. The family even became one of our, LIA families. I can't remember what that stands for, but the mom became part of our leadership team to come in and help us with how we could make our program more effective for families.
Thank you.
I think I answered all your questions. Yes, Ms. Manuelito?
Yes,
I'm
you did.
sorry. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, is that Any of your presentation?
That's the end of our presentation. We appreciate the time very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr.
We're
Lang.
excited for this program.
Thank you for that presentation. What else was it too? Athletics.
President Long, members of the board, I've asked athletic director for the district, Ben Chavez, to come in and give an overview of where we're at with respect to athletics and activities in the school district. As you know, we've made some changes. We're trying a new concept in, actually not necessarily new, but kind of a combination of things that we've tried over the past to try to become more efficient and effective in athletics, not only in our spending, but also in our equity across the district to make sure that games are scheduled and also travel is conducted and prepared for in-house at central office. That takes a load off of the schools and also gives an opportunity for more fairness across the district in those activities. So obviously, in addition to that, there'll be some discussions about the COVID situation and how that pertains to athletics and the scheduling changes and a whole host of things. A few months back, we had a presentation on this, but this is an evolving topic with respect to athletics. As COVID and as the rules change at the state level, it obviously trickles down and affects us locally. So, Mr. Chavez.
Thank you. Good afternoon, President Long, board members, Mr. Hyatt. First and foremost, I want to piggyback off what Mr. Hyatt said. The athletic situation right now is very fluid. A lot of it is based off of restrictions or ease of restrictions that the governor is allowing, and they are changing literally daily. We have had new changes in policy from the governor's office and from the NMAA from Friday. We're currently waiting on another decision that could greatly affect not only our district but everyone else in the state. I'll go over some of those things in detail, but first I wanted to introduce the new assistant athletic director that has been put in place to assist all of the schools to take a lot of the work that was taking up a ton of administrators' times at the school building. That way they could focus more on the instruction and taking care of the kids in their building. So this is Mr. David Gibbons. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself and talk about a few, well, not a few, he's taken over a bunch of tasks. But Mr. Gibbons?
President Long, board members, Mr. Hyatt, thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be a part of the GMCS athletics. We've had a rich history of great athletic programs. We want to continue that. I'm excited about being a part of this, but I'm also, it's pretty intense with a lot of changes. Mr. Chavez mentioned those a minute ago. There's a lot of change happening right now. A lot of times it feels like we're standing kind of on some quicksand. But I feel like we're adjusting well. We're making some changes. We'll discuss a couple of those as we go. I don't know, do you want me to talk schedules now? So I'll mention one of them is that we're dealing with scheduling. When I started out and first took this position, everybody had schedules set. And shortly after I was hired, every schedule was entirely wiped clean, and we started rescheduling for every single school in the district. So that's been a little bit of an adventure. It's been a little bit difficult. There have been some challenges. Mr. Chavez alluded to the changes that are constant. There are constant changes, and we have to kind of roll with the punches and adjust. Just this morning, we had several games change on us. I got an email just before I came in here about some cross-country teams that we're not going to run this year, and so we're making some adjustments there. I'll be sending out an email a little later about some volleyball situations that have changed just today, and that's pretty much a daily thing. But we are working our very best to make sure that every student at Gallup McKinley County Schools has every opportunity to participate in athletics. We recognize the value of those for their social and emotional well-being, and we are doing our very best to make sure that every student has a positive and a good learning experience with athletics at Gallup McKinley County Schools.
Mr. Long?
Priscilla.
Mr. Gibbons, can you please tell me what your role is going to be as assistant athletic director?
Yes. So I will actually be involved in a number of different things. My official title is school leader intern, and as a school leader intern, I'm working under Mr. Chavez, and I'm also working with Ms. Charmin Munoz over at Academy. But some of the things that I'll be working on are scheduling. I'm working with busing, working with meals, and there's a new program we're using for our ticketing that I'm working with. So those are the primary things that I'm working with, and then I'm involved in various aspects of athletics as needed.
So then our coaches don't need to do their meals or buses now? You'll be taking care of all that?
So I will work with the coaches on those, but yes, those will be taken care of to make sure that they're handled here. So I've been in contact, for example, this morning with coaches about meals for this weekend and principals.
I'm sorry. And which one of you will be dealing with the athletic directors in our schools?
So there's been a little bit of change. I'll let Mr. Chavez address the changes to athletics, but we will both be working with athletic administrators at schools.
Okay.
It'll be a joint effort.
So to answer your question, Board Member Manuelito, we have kind of eliminated the athletic director position at the local high schools. We felt that a lot of the things that they were doing that were taking administrators' times at the schools, we could better do here. Kind of eliminate the middleman, and there was quite a few problems, partially because of turnover and new principals, new administration, and we just figured it'd be easier for us, rather than spending our time cleaning up things, to just take care of them at our level here, and again, free up some time for the administrators at those high schools to focus on more the educational type things. So we're thinking it's going to benefit everyone greatly. All right, so to talk about a few of the changes, first and foremost, the NMAA Board of Commission met on Friday after getting numerous comments from superintendents, coaches, and administrators throughout the state that the remote learning situation is not ideal. And they actually took a poll, and they figured that as of Thursday's grading period, which is when our official grading period ends, 39% of the athletes in New Mexico are going to be ineligible, academically ineligible. We take that a step further in counties like McKinley County, considering all the challenges that we have with remote learning. So the Board of Commissions did meet, and they decided that they are going to extend the clean slate rule until after January. So we don't want to get the message out there that athletes don't have to do well in school, but they understand that because there are situations where kids are having a difficult time logging in, getting their assignments done, Wi-Fi situations, hotspot situations, they're going to work with us. So they will not be told that they are academically ineligible after this 9 weeks. At semester, they will go back to the regular NMA eligibility policy, which is 2.0 and no Fs. They can use the cumulative provision, which means if they have more than a semester of high school credits under their belt and they have above a 2.0 with no more than one F, the NMA will work with them. Again, that was just changed on Friday afternoon, so that was one of the last emails that I sent out to coaches and principals, followed up this morning. Officially, fall athletics began yesterday. The NMA did allow the sports of cross country and golf for sure, and volleyball with a question mark to start yesterday. We talked earlier about restrictions, and the governor still considers volleyball a high contact sport. So the instruction that we gave out early Monday morning was to go ahead and hold practices and tryouts as scheduled. We would remain in 9-to-1 pod ratios. We would not be allowing any scrimmages. As of right now, the governor still has not said whether or not we are going to get the thumbs up or they are going to postpone volleyball. This is one of the main pressing issues that every district in the state is kind of waiting on right now. Are they going to push volleyball back, and then they've talked about having to change schedules again, or are they going to let us continue? The other great challenge that McKinley County has had to face that a lot of other counties have not is the fact that the Navajo Nation does implement curfews and weekend lockdowns. We have actually had to change our first district cross-country meet, which was going to take place Hamburger Hill at Tohatchee. We were planning on running that Saturday, Well, 2 weeks ago, President Nez announced that there was going to be an extended weekend curfew. That does affect us. Technically, we were going to run, we changed the venue to be run on the campus of Tohatchee. However, we started getting concerned calls from parents saying, you know, they're very strict in some areas about giving fines, and we're scared. We don't want to get a $1,000 fine driving our athlete to the school to get on a bus to go run. So we figured we're gonna make it easy on everyone, and we have changed that to take place on Monday. That way, it doesn't interfere with any classes that are going on, and also we can be, you know, within the law, not bending any rules. So things like that, we're trying to make adjustments. Volleyball, once we get the thumbs up or thumbs down, we will let everyone know. I know that there's coaches out there. Mr. Mortensen's wife is, I know, anxiously waiting for me to give her the phone call on what the governor's decided, but we still do not know at this point. All right. Next, we want to talk a little bit about, we mentioned earlier that we wanted to go ticketless, and that there are going to be no fans allowed in the gyms or the football stadiums this year. So we just got a report that there is only one school left, Crown Point High School, that needs the cameras installed. The rest are up and ready to go. We actually have a little presentation on the Pixelot systems that we installed, what they are. Now, unfortunately, because of the way the sound is set up here, you won't be able to hear the sound. You can see the closed captions on it, but the people at home or anyone watching online right now will kind of see what it is. To give you, in a nutshell, we want to stream every contest, freshman, C-team, varsity, at our high schools. So we've installed cameras at every football field and in every gymnasium. The memberships information is going to be out there for parents. All you have to do is have a NFHS network membership, and you can watch any game from any school that has this system. We wanted to provide this opportunity for our parents. It's $10.99 a month, which is not bad at all. For those of you who go to athletic events, you know you spend way more than that on hot dogs. So this is a really good deal to save gas money and be able to see our athletes participate. The nice thing about Pixelot is you can also stream other things. We piggyback directly off the COVID-19 crisis, and we talk about things like graduations. Now that we have the Pixelot cameras at the stadiums, we can broadcast every graduation, pep rallies, anything that parents or other members won't be allowed to attend, we can now broadcast these live. So it's going to be a very neat thing. Anyway, Mr. Clark, are you ready for the Pixelot portion? Yeah.
So people at home will be able to hear it. We just won't be able to hear it here.
Okay.
Well,
Maybe.
are you going to be able to broadcast it to see on the board, Mr. Clark? Okay.
Under study circle.
Hi, Phillips. I'm the boys
We
varsity
can
head
email it out.
basketball coach and assistant.
Sounds good. Any questions for
Yes.
Mr. Chavis, board members?
Hi,
Priscilla?
Phillips. I'm
Yes,
the
thank
boys
you.
varsity head basketball coach
Um,
and assistant athletic director at
Thank you.
Roswell
Go
High
ahead,
School
go.
in Roswell,
Thank you for your
Georgia.
presentation.
The Pixelot system
I know
was
this
a
is a huge
no-brainer for us at
concern for a
Roswell
lot
High
of our
School once we
parents.
saw
We
how
have
easy it was.
a lot of parents
We
that
have one in our stadium, we have one in our
students
gym.
that really
We're able
rely
to
on our
stream
athletic
football,
program.
basketball, volleyball,
I know
soccer,
that there's
lacrosse,
been a couple of
wrestling,
concerns
as
that
well
we're
as non-athletic events from our VIP night to open house to pep rallies. We're able to stream it for all levels, varsity, JV, and freshmen. In the first 3 months, we probably streamed 75 games, and we will stream over 200 games by the end of the school year. We really love this technology. It's one of the few things in our athletic department that we don't have to worry about. Once the units were installed, we don't have to do anything. We simply send our schedules in, the units turn on and off all by themselves, and the NFHS network provides all technical
So
support.
we have had individual
We feel like
meetings
we're
with
part of
all
a
the
growing sports
administration, and
network.
coaches are required to
More
attend the
schools that we
mandatory
play are
trainings
getting the
through
Pixelot
NNA
system
that go over the
installed,
specifics on
including
cleaning,
some of our rivals.
sanitation,
So it's great for our
pot
fans
sites,
and
as
even our
those
families
things
that
are
don't live in the Roswell area.
refer
They
to
can
what?
see our games home and
NNA
away
has actually
live streamed.
released Sports-specific videos for every coach on what they need to do based off of the
Our
CDC
coaches
guidelines
really
for
love the
cleanliness,
usefulness of the Pixelot systems
sanit-
for their programs.
sanitization, size
We
of
now have
pods,
video for
the
every
amount of
game
pods
without
allowed in
somebody
games and
having
stuff,
to
what
be
cleaning products
filming
you
in
can use.
person.
So we have been getting that information out to coaches and administrators.
Okay, so that's to coaches. How is that being relayed to the athletic and the parents?
So again, we piggyback off of the COVID-19 re-entry guide on the GMCS webpage. And so the big banner that comes across the top, COVID-19 safe re-entry plans, everything is included in there. And there, thank you, Mr. Gibbons. We also have a parent video information out there on practices that are being done to ensure that we're taking every measure that we can to make sure athletes are safe.
And is that on our website?
It's done through the coaches. We've actually implemented that since we can't do parent meetings anymore. Part of the information that's going to get out to parents and things that they have to do, like sign in the COVID waivers, they actually have to watch these videos that the NMAA does provide.
So it's part of the pre-meeting sports between coaches and parents.
Fall and the winter parent meetings, so all the information is provided.
And the other question I had was, we still have students that are also in the McKinley Academy, and I just don't want them also to be forgotten because they are athletes in their local schools. And I just want, because we had so much trouble, or not so much, we had some trouble with that in previous years and last year, and I just want you guys to just continue to be aware of that. We do have the implementation of what you mentioned, the ticket list, and no fans being allowed. Is there any way that we can look at the $10.99 being paid for the players, the families, instead of them paying that themselves? That's a question, the last question I have. Thank you.
No problem. We can definitely look into that. I'm not sure what the legalities are of purchasing subscriptions for family members, but it's something that we could look into. To answer your question about McKinley Academy, on Friday, it was Thursday or Friday, we did have an athletic administrators meeting with all principals, and one of the directives that we gave was that they needed to make sure that every message that went out for not only things like fire drills, but athletic events needed to make sure that every McKinley Academy student who was based out of their home school got those same messages. So yes, we're definitely going to address to make sure that those kids are up to date on all the information as well.
Mr. President, I just have something to say on that. I think to go online is $10.99 a month.
Correct. $10.99 a month or $59 for a year.
Okay. You know, for us to have to try and pay that for parents, you know, I think that, you know, parents and family members go to games anyway and they all pay admission, it would be just the same. So, you know, I don't see a problem in them paying for that.
The other thing I wanted to ask, I'm sorry, Mr. Long, is there some way, or maybe there is, that you guys have developed for our parents that do not have the resources of internet or the web page, or is there a one-page safety protocol that can be that can be given to our athletes and to our parents or grandparents?
Absolutely. And so like I said, the first official practices started yesterday. We're expecting that most coaches will have their tryouts done or unfortunately their cuts done by the end of this week, and that's when we push these meetings out. But I can absolutely put a one-pager in the athletic handbooks that they have to hand out to their athletes.
I would
to
also
provide
encourage
information.
Facebook to
Yes.
be put on Facebook, or GMCS Facebook, so
Absolutely.
because I know a lot of parents do have that resource of Facebook too that
Sure.
we can utilize.
Absolutely. Excellent
I had
idea.
another question, I lost it.
So the last thing that we have to present, and it should just take a few seconds, Mr. Gibbons is going to talk about how we're going ticket list this year to try to eliminate a few issues about money accountability and going ticket list, just to make sure that students and families and communities stay safe. So Mr. Gibbons?
Thank you. Just a few thoughts about the safety. As Mr. Chavez was talking, we also have coaches that use an athlete monitoring form that checks COVID-related symptoms daily, and they track those and keep those. There's also an app that tracks that our coaches have been encouraged to use. So we are trying to take every effort to be safe. So the ticketless sales, my hope is that we come out on the other side of this when we're done with COVID and we've gone through all these things, we'll come out way ahead. Our teachers will be better with technology in the classroom. As far as athletics go, we'll be far advanced. I'm excited about the future because things like my parents don't live close, but they'd love to watch my daughter play volleyball or basketball. I hope she plays basketball. But we're going to have these pieces in place. And one of the pieces we're going to have in place is the GoFan. And there are 3 ways to purchase GoFan tickets. One of the ways is these signs here. We have signs for every school, and they will sit outside the entrance, and you can take a picture of the QR code, and the QR code will bring up your school. The schedules aren't loaded yet, so it may take you to a site with no games yet, but you can purchase tickets using those. So that's one of the ways you can purchase tickets. Another way is before you go to the game, you can sit on your couch in your bunny slippers, and you can get online and buy a ticket. The third way is that we have these GoFan box offices. And we have a card reader and iPad at the door so that people can purchase those there. So if you didn't have home internet connectivity or you didn't have a smartphone, you can come up and purchase the ticket at the actual game. This will do a few things for us. It'll make us more convenient. Obviously, in the COVID era, it's going to make us safer. There's going to be less money changing hands. There's going to be less person-to-person contact. We can spread the signs out so we can socially distance as we purchase tickets. It will help us manage our seats and our ticket sales. I'm assuming that when we come back with fans, we're not going to have full capacity. And because we won't have full capacity, we may have to have situations where we have to decide who gets into the games. And this GoFan system will allow us to say, okay, we're gonna prioritize parents of athletes so they can see their kids play instead of just any fan. Even though we want all fans to participate, it'll help us to get some of those parents that, they put a lot of effort into their kids and they want to see their kid play. So we can do some of those things. It will definitely make us more efficient, more financially secure. Mr. Chavez alluded to that. It's an exciting idea, an exciting program. I think we're going to be good at using it very soon. The other thing that I've thought a lot about, I was the athletic director in Rama for about 8 years, and when we had a big game, before the end of the school day, we'd have a line clear out to the parking lot, sometimes down the road, of people waiting to get in that game. And sometimes, it's March 2nd, and there's a snowstorm that day. There's little kids and some of our elders out in the cold, freezing, waiting to get into a game. It's during the school day, and so we have the potential security threat of having people that aren't part of our school at our school site during that time. With this GoFan thing, it'll be a lot easier. There's not going to be the line to buy tickets because people can buy them at their leisure. There won't be as long of a wait to get in. You're not going to have to wait for somebody to figure out how much money 3 adult tickets and 2 student tickets cost. There will be somebody at the door that validates your tickets with a stylus, and you walk right in. So I think we'll be more efficient and safer that way as well. So I'm really looking forward to this. I think it has a lot of potential and a lot of promise for us.
Okay, thank you. Questions, board members?
No?
Thank you, Ben. Mr. Gibbons? Yeah. We go down to cultural education. Mike?
President Long, members of the board, I'm going to ask to come up. We haven't had a report from the Cultural Education Department for quite a while, and so I think now that school started, I think it was appropriate to kind of fill in some of the things that are happening in that department. So, Dr. White.
Thank you, Mr. Long, members of the board, Mr. Hyatt. I'd like to put your attention to the Tribal Education Status Report that was in your binders. This is an annual report that is due to the Public Education Department. And if you look at the table of contents, it talks about our student demographics for this past year, our student achievement since school was closed in March before all the testing started. The Public Education Department requested that we use 3 years of data to see how well our kids are doing, if there's any trends. We also talked about school safety, graduation rates, attendance, parent and community involvement, and some of the programs that we do have that target specifically Native American students, our financial report, and then our IPPs, our Federal Indian Policies and Procedures that's required from Impact Aid, our calendar, and then our consultation process with our tribes, and then the curriculum, which is our cultural ed department. So in this booklet that we have is just basically what we have done this past year. So, you know, it's a lot of data. So it's good data. It really and we share this information with our directors and coordinators so that they know how our students are performing and what we can do to increase performance. For this year, our language program, we have a concerning topic, and that's vacancies. We know that our Navajo language and our Zuni language teachers are very rare. They're very rare folks who know the language and can actually teach it. So we have 9 vacancies in our district right now, but we also have 30 teachers. So we have a capacity of almost 40 teachers. So 1/4 of our teachers aren't here. So we're looking at, since we're in a remote process, some of our teachers are teaching online for other schools. So especially at the high school. At the high school, we're proud to say that we've been working with NTU, Navajo Technical University last year. We really looked at the curriculum for Navajo 2 and made it align and got approved with NTU. So our curriculum is aligned with dual credit. So all of our students who take a Navajo 2 class this year will also get college credit for Navajo language. So that's a lot of work from last year that culminated into this benefit for our students. Right now, because of last year, we started working on a digital library. We started telling our teachers and training them, our Navajo language and Zuni teachers, on what does this look like using more of technology. And with the pandemic, it just kick-started us and made us go faster when we started. And again, like what Dr. Ashley was saying and others, that the use of technology is a hard shift for others, but yet we've provided the training and support for teachers to use Teams, to use technology so that can be a tool for instruction. So we really worked hard on, especially our high school, to make sure that our students are ready to take the bilingual biliteracy seal and be proficient in their language. And so with that, our focus has always been expressive languages. In language, expressive means to talk, actually use the language. And receptive is that you can hear the language, but you can't respond back using that language. So a lot of our kids do have receptive skills. They can hear the language and can understand and comprehend, but they cannot speak the language. So our goal is expressive language, which is the next higher level. In order to express yourself in a language, you have to comprehend what's coming in so you can talk and respond appropriately using the language. So that's our focus as far as K-12 curriculum, is just looking at increasing the expressive skills of our students. We also have, like I said, our teachers. We're going to be evaluating how many of our students that are schools that don't have a teacher, what are we going to do for them for second quarter? We're hoping that it would be in a hybrid model, but since we're not, and just the uncertainty of how the hybrid and remote models are working, so we're going to be looking at what are the needs of our kids and how can we support our teachers for those that don't have a teacher. Right now, like I said, our team has worked diligently on the curriculum. We've developed assessments that are by quarter, so we can look at how are kids doing by each quarter, so we can work on help giving the support that they need so they can become more proficient in speaking the language. We've also partnered with the Kellogg Foundation. They have provided us funding so that it's going to really work with using technology as a tool. Right now, we're going to be working on making videos, language videos, different types of media format, and posting it into our electronic database, perhaps in SharePoint, so that if a student missed a class, for example, the language classes, the classes that the student missed will be right there, so they don't have to go back and look for a teacher, but it can be there. So we're looking at all of those types of things and using technology as a tool. So that's my brief report. Do you have any questions?
Board
Dr.
members?
White, also, if you'd I think you mentioned, you may not have mentioned, that we did tribal consultation today, right, with the Navajo Nation, so I want to report that also.
Yes, we did. Thank you, Mr. Hyatt. We did have Navajo Nation tribal consultation this morning and we presented our federal programs and the tester as well. And then we have our Zuni tribal consultation set for next week as well. And then we share what we've done in the district under all the federal programs, how well we're doing, and what are our next steps for improvement. So that's our tribal consultation process.
Questions, board members?
Mr. Long, thank you. I got Dr. White. Kone nikiti in ani gito tiko nas tosen king jagi. I had bakita ni zendon kastnesto the negia das tio da ya ishi you the yitas angi eba baba nikista hojo. I love to see and hear what's happening in our school pertaining to our language and culture. It comforts my heart that we continue to emphasize language and culture. I still don't think it's at the potential we need it to be at. I think that we need to continue to work on it. Bilingual education in our schools, but I think we're doing really good, and I'm very appreciative of what is happening to this point. A question I had was, with the New Mexico Indian Education Grant, how much did we receive, and did we receive it in time for us to utilize it? I know there was a concern in the past that we were getting it late, and then it only gave us a few months to spend it. Because I had a meeting, or was on a conference call with them, and I wish I knew that answer, because they were asking us how we can, what concerns we had, but I wasn't able to see if that was still an issue.
Thank you, Ms. Manuelito. For the Indian Education Grant from the Public Education Department, we received $90,000, I'd say around December, January. And that at that time we wrote the grant so that we have parent language classes and looking at more of like Navajo language academies, language camps, that kind of thing. But because COVID set in around March, we did an amendment to the grant, and we used the remaining balance, which was about $63,000 out of that $90,000 for hotspots for our students. So we got the hotspots, and they're given to our students. For this year, we have not gotten an award at all. We've had some revisions that we need to do, and so far we have not been given any green light or any notification of whether we're going to get funded or not. And I know it's probably going to be another $90,000, if any.
Thank you. And you mentioned the libraries. Is that a library that's in the classroom, which includes bilingual books? And is there any way that maybe our students that are taking Navajo language or culture or government, or is there any way we can purchase books for the students to keep themselves?
Through Title VI from last year, and then also again through Title VI this year, and the bilingual funds, the schools are given money for culturally relevant materials. The teachers and the principals decide how they're going to use those funds. And if the schools are given funds, even if they have a vacancy, and we work with the library from that school to get library books for the kids so that all students have access to them. So they are given funds from each school site, from these two different categories. And so that's the library question that you had. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. And Mr. Long, thank you. My last one is just a comment. I just wanted to just continue to utilize the Indian Policy and Procedure, the IPP, and the Indian Education Act for our students to the fullest. I think we need to continue to have those laws that were put in place for our children continue to be monitored and utilized. So thank you, Shada.
So, thank you, Deja. Yeah.
Any other questions? Kevin?
Yeah, I just had maybe two questions, two concerns. One of them being, I just kind of wanted to know how the computers or the laptops, iPads, whatever is being used for our students, how our the translation is that working well as far as them being able to translate the Navajo English into Navajo on the iPads is my first question. Second question I have is our assistants or our people who work here in central office that were used. I know last year they help and assist our Navajo language and cultural teachers that are here in central office. You know, if we have such a shortage, aren't those people able to go out and go into a classroom rather than just being here in central office? Because I know some of our teachers are taking on more than one school. I know that they're working on Maya Mirror and Gallup, or they're taking on more than one school trying to get this done. While we have people here that could probably get out there and into that classroom.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell, for your question. Members of the board, Mr. Hyatt, for the translation into Navajo using technology, actually our kids are English coming in with English speaking skills more than the native languages, unfortunately. So what our teachers do is deliver the lesson in using the Navajo language, using the Teams, Microsoft Teams platform. So they're still being exposed to the language. And what's even better is now that the language is in the home is how we see it. Because it's not only the kids learning the language, now whoever's in the home also hears the language being spoken. So we're hoping that they have that support as well, and other people are learning the language in addition to the student. So that's the translation into Navajo. And I know if the students need help, they do ask their teacher there. And I know on Fridays, some of our teachers do get help students who do need help, as well as parents calling in and saying, my student needs help on this one. You asked about assistance in the classroom. We have 3 Navajo language coaches that are housed here in the district office. One of them is half-time teaching at Rama High. Because the high school is under high school credits and elective credits and dual credit now with Navajo 2, we have one of our coaches who's finished the year last year and then working again this year, helping Rama High School with their language courses. So we have one, and we do have 2 other language coaches. And like I said, we're going to be looking at the class load of teachers probably next week when quarter 1 ends. No, wait a minute, it's this week, huh? Wow, time flies. So we're going to look at what the class loads of all the teachers and see what we can do to even those numbers out.
Thank you.
Is that it, board members?
Oh.
Okay. Thank you, Pauletta.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mike?
Thank you, Dr. White, Dr. Ryan, and Ben, and David. We appreciate the presentations. And before we go on to the next item, I just wanted to let the public know, I know the board already knows this, but we have over 1,200 students that are currently attending school in the hybrid option, that they've chosen that option, their parents have, and the students. And so we're at the elementary level. And so I just wanted to make sure that was public, that over 1,200 students are currently attending K through 5 school, pre-K through 5 school. I'm visiting every school this week. I've already been to some, and it's pretty incredible what our teachers are pulling off with respect to instruction. I think everybody was a bit nervous with the distance learning model, and it does it does have many challenges, to say the least. But we have some incredible team teaching and other things happening that are just amazing. And at some point, I think it'd be good, as you get a little further in, it'd be great to show you in a board meeting kind of what that looks like when a teacher is teaching a class. It's pretty incredible what they're pulling off. So we appreciate our staff, not only our teachers, but it's all of our staff that are going the extra mile to make sure that our students are taken care of, they're being educated. So thank you.
Mr. Long,
Kevin?
President, I just would like to add that, besides our staff, teachers, and principals, I did go out and visit my elementary schools, and I was so amazed to see what a great job they're doing. I know at Tohatchi Elementary, one of the teachers there, her husband actually built her the plexiglass separations. So, I think that everybody's, all pitching in to ensure the safety of our schools. And, it was really good to see that, and I was very appreciative. And especially with our principals, how they're handling everything. You walk in, and all the schools I went to, as soon as you walk in, temperature check, you sanitize right there, you sign in. They're doing a great job from what I can see.
Gushi, yeah, Kevin.
Mr. Long, Mr. Hyatt, I just want to say, and to our presenters today, thank you for these reports. I think it's today's reports from all three of them were great reports. That transparency is needed, and I think just having us know how our programs are or how they work within our school district and the new changes, especially with athletics, is something we need to continue to be informative to our parents. So, Mr. Hyde, to you and your staff and to presenters, thank you very much for these presentations, and look forward to some more next board meeting.
Gushi, thank you, Priscilla. Yeah. With that, under study circle, number 2, notices and communication. You can read those on your own and ink those dates in your calendar. We go to new business. We have 2 action items. The first one is approval of the 2021 graduation dates. Board members.
President Long, members of the board, I just want to preface this particular item with some information. We're in as everybody knows, we're in a unique situation with respect to our calendar, and there are still a lot of unknowns. But as of right now, one of the things that led us down to suggesting these dates for graduation and how close they are together is that we will still have athletics going on into June this next year or this school year. And so that posed some complications with state tournaments, and so we had to try to find ways in which we could obviously avoid state tournaments, but also to try to not hurt as many weekends as possible with respect to opportunities for students to play, since their seasons are so condensed. And so that was the reason why we thought we could pull off these particular dates with these particular schools, with the understanding that we were trying to maximize opportunities, obviously, for school boards to at least attend their own area school, high school graduations. And so I just want to give a little bit of information on how we ended up at these particular dates.
Okay, board members. Need a motion and second.
I'm on motion.
Okay, a motion's been made by Priscilla Manlito
Second.
and second by Michael Schaaf to approve the graduation dates. Discussion, board members.
Mr. Long and Mr. Hyatt. So, again, Mr. Hyatt, due to the state, the complications you said are things that would get in the way. Is that why they're so early in May? There's no way we could move it to the end of May?
The reason, President Long, Ms. Manuelito, is the closer you get to those state competitions, the more you're having those more important games. And so we felt that this was the best of both worlds right in the middle of that month. It's slightly earlier than we're used to. Actually, we've done this in the past about this time, but usually we do it starting in this week and then we go 2 weeks. Over the last few years, we've changed a little bit and moved them because of state tournament changes. But that was one of the main reasons. And it also, at the same time, as we come into conflict with other graduations around the country and state. And so we felt like we're better avoiding them and have that opportunity this year. We may not have that opportunity next year because schedules will change with respect to athletics and state tournaments and other activities. But this seemed to be the best weekend that we could find to do the best job we could with respect to avoiding those other activities.
So,
Kevin?
Mr. Superintendent, so if we have seniors who have graduated and then their state tournament or whatever comes after that, they're still eligible even though they've graduated and they should be considered done?
Yes, they're still eligible. We have things that happen with respect to, I think Ben could probably clarify, but I know even with rodeo, some of those things happen after graduations. We've had situations like that, and so they can still participate. Obviously, there's some other considerations we have to take in as we go through those scheduling and ensuring, because we don't have school grades that are a deterrent for negative activity potentially in some few cases, but it's going late into the year. If not, we're going to be doing graduations in July.
Okay. Yeah, so my main reason was just I just didn't want it to penalize our students.
No, it would not
So
penalize them.
If not, then that's fine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions, comments, board members? Not, we have a motion on the floor. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Miss Manuelito,
I know I motioned, but I don't,
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
He's not on the phone.
okay, Mr. Long,
Yes.
yes,
Miss
Joan.
Manuelito.
Yes, Joan.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, board members. We approved the graduation dates. Let's go down to the second action item, which is pretty much the bids for the fleet vehicles. Mike?
President Long, members of the board, this is simply a procurement action item with respect to purchasing fleet vehicles, replacement. Specifically, these ones are for actually maintenance vehicles, school vehicles, trucks. And if I'm not mistaken, maybe Marco could come up if there's anything else I'm missing on that bid, if you could fill in, or did I catch it all? It's just fleet vehicles? Okay, right. Thank you.
Board members? What is your wishes? Need a motion and second?
I'll go ahead and motion.
Okay, motion by Priscilla to approve the
Second.
bid for the fleet vehicle, second by Kevin. Discussion, board members?
So I just want to know why we moved this from consent item?
There could be
A conflict of interest. There may be a conflict of interest involving Mr. Michael Shaw, because he's working there at RICO.
Oh, wait a minute.
That was the only reason why we had to pull it, so,
Okay, so he just has to abstain?
yes.
Okay.
So if there's no questions,
No.
or discussion, roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Manuelito?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Abstain?
Mr. Long?
Yes. Thank you, board members. We have approved that action item, and we completed our business for today. What is the pleasure of the board?
I would like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, a motion's been made by Michael Shaw to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kevin Mitchell. I thought we were going to stay here for the evening. We do have a motion on the floor for adjournment. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Manuelito?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
2:14.
We adjourn at 2:14, board members, and I want to thank everybody in the audience for being here with us. You all have a great day, great evening, and take care of yourselves. Be safe. So.